Hi everyone. So I'm here to discuss about Article 132 of the Revised Penal Code, which is the interruption of religious worship. So this is the provision for this article. Here, the penalty of prison correctional in its minimum period shall be imposed upon any public officer or employee who shall prevent or disturb the ceremonies or manifestations of any religion. If the crime shall have been committed with violence or threats, the penalty shall be prison correctional in its medium and maximum periods. Here it is being described that if a public officer or if you are a public employee or a government employee who would do something to prevent or disturb any ceremonies that a certain religion would conduct, then you would qualify, as breaking the law in pursuant to this article. So let's look at the elements of Article 132. As I've mentioned earlier, this is uh, basically done by any public officer or government employee. And then the second is if that person will or shall prevent or disturb the ceremonies or manifestations of any religion. So as I've mentioned earlier, if you are a government employee or a government or public officer, and then you use your power to somehow disrupt or put a ceremony on hold or a religious ceremony on hold, you will be accountable for this article. So in relation to this article, we have the case of Herman versus Santiago, GR number L 68828, March 27, 1985. For the facts. So at 5 p.m. Uh, on the 2nd of October 1984, the petitioners, composed of about 50 businessmen, students, and office employees, they converged or met at JP Laurel Street in Manila for the ostensible purpose of hearing mass at the St. Jude Chapel, which pretty close to the Malacanang Palace, um, because they are located in the same street. So here, wearing the familiar yellow T-shirts in the first EDSA revolution, they started to march down the said street with raised clenched fist, and they shouted anti-government invectives. So along the way, however, they were barred by correspondent Major Isabelo Lariosa upon orders of his superior and co-respondent General Santiago Barangan from proceeding any further. On the ground that St. Jude Chapel was located within the Malacanang security area. So when petitioners' protestations and pleas to allow them to get inside the church proved unveiling, uh, they decided to leave. However, because of the alleged warning given to them by the respondent major, that any similar attempts to enter the church by petitioner in the future would likewise be prevented, and then petitioners took this as the present recourse. So here, the petitioners alleged the purpose in converging at JP Laurel Street was to pray and hear Mass at St. Jude Church, as if it's really true. But anyway, at the hearing of this petition, respondents assured petitioners and the court that they have never restricted and will never restrict any person or persons from entering and worshiping at said church. Now for the issue of this case. So it's whether or not Major Isabelo Larios and General Santiago Barangan guilty of interrupting a religious worship. So for the ruling, um, so what happened was the Supreme Court denied the petitioner's well petition. So because here the Supreme Court said that the petitioner's intent was not really to perform an act of religious worship, but to conduct an anti-government demonstration at a place close to the very residence and offices of the President of the Philippine Republic. Here, the petitioners attempt to disguise their true motives, which a ritual as sacred and solemn as the holy sacrifice of the Mass. Undoubtedly, the yellow t-shirt worn by some of the marchers and their raised clenched fists, as well as their chants of anti-government slogans, strongly indicate that um, they are intending to protest, instead of having a or attending a prayer rally or a mass in the location. Now, in relation to the case at bar, so as it's really hard to look for a particular case that would point or explain the article, I would like to discuss that for why I gave this example of a case, because if only those people were not intending to conduct a a protest rally close to the Malacanang Palace that would endanger the president or his family. If only they were going to pray instead of protesting, and by doing so, they were interrupted, or they were stopped by the police officers or the army or any government officials. That would constitute to this article to take effect. So let's keep in mind of the elements of this case, that number one is the public officer or employee. That I mean, they should be a public employee or a public officer. And then if they prevent or disturb the ceremonies or manifestations of any religion. So by doing so, it will constitute for the Article 132 of the Revised Penal Code to take effect, which is interruption of religious worship. That's it for today. Thank you.